We're recording.
Did you hear the ding?
Ding.
I heard that one.
Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the pixeLobby podcast. We're so glad you've tuned in, listened, and joined us on this. And we got a very special holiday edition. We have the entire panel with us. First off, we have Micah Burke. We have Ed Ward, Jesus Ramirez, and the founder of the pixeLobby, Cindy Wilkerson. And I am your host, Brian Mundy. Cindy, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about what we're doing on this special holiday panel?
We have a fun one this time. I'm really excited. We're excited for the holidays, and one of the biggest questions we have all year, what would you get someone for Christmas that's a photographer or a graphic artist or digital artist? And so we are doing All We Want for Christmas special today. And we brought Santa Claus Micah all the way from the North Pole here.
Ho, ho, ho.
Nice.
So that's what we've got going tonight.
All right, Micah, tell us who's going to start this off.
All righty. Well, tonight we're going to start with. Did we go over this part?
It's going to be our lovely friend from, actually from me from up north and from you up north, but down south.
Jesus.
Oh, Jesus, yes. Tonight we're going to start with Jose. Oh, Jesus. we always love to give him a hard time. And Jesus tonight's going to tell us about his what he wants for Christmas.
Great, that'll work. We'll make that work. We'll put it together. So, Micah, what we do need you to do is kind of that same introduction, but bring in this time Ed.
Wonderful.
Cindy, did we talk about that without? He wasn't paying attention. That's what it was.
Well,
It must have been one of those old
Let's do another 30 seconds. Give it another 30 seconds, and then we'll let Micah introduce Ed.
Ed.
So let's do the 30 seconds now.
And now let's hear about what Ed Ward wants for Christmas.
Okay, so I'm not sure if this was supposed to be general suggestions of what would be great for Christmas or what you want for yourself, but as is the norm, I thought I'm just going to think about myself and what I want.
Yeah.
So
Go for it.
I've been putting together kind of an inexpensive studio within this studio to do photographs. This is where I do design. And a couple months ago, or a few months ago anyway, I bought a couple of soft boxes and I bought a green muslin backdrop. And I have been bugging the hell out of my wife to let me do a portrait shot of her specifically as an author pick for the back of her books, because right now she's got like, it's just kind of a snapshot basically, but she loves it. And, as a spouse, you have to kind of pick your battles, but this time I'm like, all right, we got to do this. So I bought a couple more backdrops, a black muslin and a white muslin, and I got a 5-in-1 reflector kit so I can play around with it a little bit. And they're from Studio Pro. I actually have them right here. And I know this doesn't really do any good for the podcast, but some people might watch the video. So here's the 5-in-1. It expands out, and then you fold it different ways, and you can get black, white, silver, gold, and translucent. And it comes with a stand and also a expandable reflector holder. And it was relatively inexpensive, so like $45 for the whole thing. So I'm definitely keeping it on the cheaper side here with my whole in-house system. I'm not trying to set the world on fire, just kind of learn a little bit. And I'm sure as far as expanding that thing and getting it back in the bag, I'll need a whole YouTube course on that.
True.
And then so we get two things, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you
Okay,
get
You haven't
go ahead.
said what Santa's going to bring you yet.
I am Santa.
Oh, okay.
We've gotten so lazy. It's like, I kind of know what I want. Why don't I just buy it and then you can wrap it? And that's what it's become after 20 years of marriage. It used to be we'd set up these treasure hunts and there'd be so many surprises, and I'd like write out these clues and lead her to one place and then to another just to get to each of the however many presents. But now it's like, just wrap this for me. Here you go.
We know.
So is that your number one? That was your number one?
That's my number one or number two of two. Then the other thing I got was new computer speakers. I've been using these small, kind of fairly chintzy ones for a while now, and as you can see by the guitars behind me, I like to play guitar a bit, and usually I'll just plug it into my iPad, put that here, and in front of me what you can't see are some studio monitors.
Mm-hmm.
So I play the guitar out of that, and then I, just like a 15-year-old in their bedroom, I'm jamming along to my favorite tunes. So I'm playing my songs through iTunes and jamming along to them. But these speakers are kind of chintzy, so I wanted to get new ones. And I ended up with, I have to scroll up to see what the heck these are. As usual, I just researched stuff on Amazon. And I got Creative GigaWorks T20 Series 2. And they're actually on sale for $60. They used to be $90 for like the whole last month. And there's like 550 reviews, 4.5 stars. And they have another T40 series that's they're like $90. But anyway, I have the box right here. Pre-wrap. That's these guys, and they're just big enough to take up all the space that is there without infringing on anything else. But they got a lot of great reviews.
That's awesome. I'm trying to look at mine. What I have. Nice.
Mine are actually large studio monitors. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to have those plugged in directly too, but I need to be able to do both for my jamming capabilities.
It's all about the bass over at Brian's, huh? He's getting that boom box going.
Sweet.
It's true.
Awesome.
It's true. Very good, Ed.
Very cool.
Well, Santa Micah, who's next?
Well, next up, Brian, I think it's going to be you.
Oh, okay. And do you want my wish list item and later on my stocking stuffer?
That sounds good. That'd be perfect.
Well, first of all, this is a little tough because I have actually asked the family to. I don't want anything for Christmas. I am very fortunate and blessed that there's really nothing for the longest time that I need. There's a lot of things I want, but there's really nothing I need, and I know I'm very fortunate about that. And we recently had an expense where my wife had cataract surgery, and she also needed to do the correction of her vision. Well, that part is not covered by insurance. So to create the new lens that they put in, they have to do something special to fix her vision. And unfortunately, that ended up costing about $5,000. So with that kind of expense, it's like, okay, there's nothing I need. I'll always have stuff I want. No big deal. But in the spirit of the show, I don't want to get too preachy about that. There is something I've been wanting for quite a while. And eventually, someday, I will get it. And that is a quadcopter. The Phantom 3 Professional quadcopter, which was on the list, but I've put a kibosh on that. But it's also something that there's a lot of controversy about right now. I don't know, they're still trying to work out the laws and regulations regarding flying them. Recently, they just came down with a mandate that if you own one of these professional size type quadcopters, video drones, whatever you might want to call them, you have to register them with the FAA, which I was actually waiting for. It's kind of like stop being in limbo, make some kind of decision, and we'll go with it. But there are some restrictions. There's restrictions of where you can fly it. there's restrictions on commercial use of those type of drones or quadcopters, whatever you want to call it. But
now, is that across the states or is that in California? Is this
I thought that was a federal law.
It's the actual FAA.
Yeah.
And I would assume, since you have to get a license for it or have to have it registered, that there's a fee as well.
Oh, I'm sure there is. With the government, I'm sure you'll have to pay some kind of fee. But once again, I'm like fine with that. It was like, let's make a decision and do it, you know? Let's move forward.
Right.
But for anybody who's thinking of that, anybody who's thinking about going down that road and getting into that kind of video work and that kind of stuff, one of the things that was strongly recommended to me was to start learning how to fly. Well, there's some applications you can get on your iPad or iPhone that kind of mock and simulate the flight. And they also said get one of the little, under $100 type, little quadcopters. These are actually much harder to fly. They don't have the GPS thing. They don't have, the ability to just hit a button and it will just sit there and hover. These are actually much harder to fly. And so if you learn to fly one of those little guys, and I'm getting pretty proficient at it, if you learn how to fly one of those little guys, when you get to the bigger, more professional versions, it's a slam dunk. It's easy to go.
What's the name of the little one you got?
The little one, hang on, I think in the box there. It's made. It's called the Hubson.
Yeah.
4X. Yeah. Here's the box. I actually purchased it when I was in England. So when I was in England, I was actually practicing flying it around and stuff like that.
Does it have a camera on it?
This one does. It does have a little video camera. Quality is kind of maybe kind of 640 by 480 kind of stuff. But again, it's a trainer. It's how to learn to fly, and it's pretty fun because you just got a thing. If you do a double click on the right stick, it will do a flip. I mean, automatically kind of stuff. So it's very quick. It's kind of like a gnat flying around your head, kind of buzz. It kind of makes the same sound too. But it's that's a fun one. But that's my big pick, my big wish on my list.
I'm with you on that one.
I could see it with, especially with the surfing and the beach and the coast.
Ed's hand is going up. Me too. Put me on the list. Nana, Micah, come on.
I've already picked my mine this year, but yeah, that was on the list. The only thing that scares me is that in my area specifically, there's been a lot of people who've been shooting them down. So I'm just kind of scared if I was to get one, somebody might take a pot shot at it.
Like specifically that farm that you always shoot.
Yeah, I'd love to fly one of those right across that farm while the sun's going down and just catch that. That'd be awesome. But yeah,
he's probably the guy that would come out to shoot it down.
Yeah. Gosh darn airplanes!
Yeah. Give me my cows.
They probably think it's just those clay discs. He's like, no.
Clay dough. Well, what's your stocking stuffer, Brian?
Mine? Oh, okay. My stocking stuffer. I actually posted something on my Facebook page about this. I recently was checking out Kickstart. And if you guys are familiar with Kickstart, it's where people can, in a sense, promote or advertise or campaign for a project that they may be working on, or it may be designing of a piece of equipment or technology, and they're looking for people to contribute dollars, pledge money that they would spend into the Kickstart program. And usually that means that if the product, hits its goal and they go to launch, they go to production, they actually then, you who contributed get something out of it. In other words, you might get the product. You may get the product at an extreme discount, or as much money as you put in, you take off on that product. And so when I was there, I bumped across a lot of people I know within the industry and friends who are contributors to a lot of little Kickstart programs. So, of course, I started looking at those, and most of them are photography related. And I ran across a thing called the Pulse. And the Pulse is a little device that you put into the hot shoe of your digital SLR, and it now through Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, I don't remember. I do know you can be quite remote out in the middle of nowhere, and through your phone control your shutter and exposures on your camera. So if you want to do time lapse, if you want to do long exposures,
Really?
if you want to trigger it for video, it's you just do it through your phone. And again, it's a little device that fits into the hot shoe, and that's for $79. And it's the company is called AlpineLaboratories.com, and I got a lot of great response when I posted it on my Facebook page. A lot of photographers like, I need that. It also works as...
I know.
Oh, when you do time lapse, help me with the word. What is that called? The little...
Oh, it's yeah.
Mike, I know you're going to get it. It's
A little what?
it's a Velociraptor or something, right?
Verlometer. Hang on one second. I'll have that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But it allows you to be able to say that, I'd like to take a frame every 30 seconds, and that's going to be a 60-second exposure, and I want you to do this for 6 hours. So you can set that up and you can tell through your iPhone. It communicates to the device that is on top of
intervalometer.
Intervalometer, yes.
Yeah, so basically you don't have to keep pressing the shutter every 6 hours. It does it for you.
Let me ask you, I've only done one time lapse, and that's been with my GoPro, and that's just something that you can set within the GoPro. So if I were to use my Nikon, I wouldn't be able to do that.
And the GoPro's got that built in.
Okay.
Right, and I don't believe Nikon has it built in. Canon there is a third-party operating system for your camera from Magic Lantern is the company, and you can install this onto a card, and when you put the card into your camera and turn it on, it looks to that operating system, and they've added a lot of features that you would think should have been built in to begin with. And there they have those abilities to do that, as well as you can shoot HDR video, when you use their little third-party software.
So let me ask you further.
Sure.
In regards to that software, so you would have to have two cards? It would read the software from that card? It wouldn't just install it to your camera, would it?
It doesn't install it onto your camera, but it does read it off the card. You just need to have the little operating system on the card when you plug it into your camera. It does still store your files, whether it's video, whether it's still frames, on that same card.
Right.
I would imagine it would work like the receiver and transmitter for your lights, where you stick it on your hot shoe, you have your transmitter, and then you have the receiver.
I think the hot shoe is simply a place to put the device more than it is actually controlling the device. You're actually plugging the device into the camera's serial port or its data port. There's another application similar to this called Trigger Trap, which I've used, and to great effect, actually. Trigger Trap has been around for a while. I don't think it has as many functions as Pulse, but it has similar ability. Use your iPhone or your Android phone to control your camera. But I think the Pulse has more capability simply because it's using that special device to change some of the functionality.
It also will send a preview to your phone.
That's very cool.
So once again, if you're doing one of the long exposure star trails of the Milky Way, and you're in the middle of, the California desert, you're out in Death Valley or something like that, you can actually be in your tent, and you could look at the phone, and you can get a preview of the last frame it just shot. So that's kind of nice.
That's pretty cool, and that's only $79.
Yep.
And it's at a Kickstarter, and we'll make sure everybody gets that.
Yeah, the Alpine Laboratories. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Kickstart is a great place to look for, many things like you're saying, anything from people who are programming things that you might be interested in, whether it be in the art world, engineering world, programs, and then products and stuff. And it allows them to spend the time on creating and building while they're, and providing for themselves too, while they're at it, because everything takes money, as we all know. And so if it's something that interests you, it's worth investing in. It's a great place.
I agree.
Thanks,
Kickstart
Brian.
is pretty cool.
Yeah, and that kind of brings us to, stocking stuffers. Talking about stocking stuffers, I didn't get around to talking about mine. And mine's pretty simple, and it's basically, additional SD storage. As far as stocking stuffers go, it's hard to get around providing something that's that immediately usable. If you're like me and you've had digital cameras for a while, you probably started with an 8 gig card, and then you eventually graduated to a 16 gig card, and now you're to the point where if you're like me and you're looking for that full frame camera coming up, the A7R2, you're going to need some serious storage. Hey, look, yeah, Brian's got a bunch of cards, and
jeez.
as photographers, that's really what it comes down to is you need that storage, and the more cards you have, generally the better. I'm really looking forward to getting a 64 gig card. I've got a couple of 32s, but I'm to that point now where I'm starting to take enough shots, especially if you're doing HDR. You're shooting 3 shots or 5 shots or 7 shots of every scene. That storage goes by fast. So I saw a 64 gig SanDisk today, a high-end, very fast SanDisk for like $34. Wow. So you're paying 50 cents for a gig now. It's time to get the card.
Now they don't really have a lot of the 16 gig anymore, do they? Or the 8 gig. It's really, really hard to find, especially if you're going to stores. Maybe if you're on the internet, you can find them a little easier, but...
Collector's item. You get a lot of money for those now.
Well, and I think I've mentioned this before in a past podcast of ours that I kind of have a different take on it. I don't necessarily think bigger is better. I think you run into a bigger risk of potentially, cards fail, and you can lose a lot more. Where I prescribe to give me a lot more of the 8 gigs, give me a bunch of those, and go through a rotation series of changing them out as I go through my shooting of the day. You were talking about the Sony camera earlier, and you were impressed with what? It was a 40-some megabyte file? 40?
Yeah, big files.
My Canon's shooting, about 68 meg files.
Yeah.
And RAW when I do that. So, I live quite comfortably with 8 gig cards. Also, cheaper isn't better. There is a difference amongst cards and the speed in which they write and the reliability of them. So I would just suggest always doing some research on that.
I firmly agree with you there.
We actually had Mark, and now I don't know how to say his last name. Coman on, and he was talking to us about the cards, but I'd prefer going into the camera store and getting them from the local camera stores directly, because you don't know, there's been problems on the internet, when you're ordering and having rip-offs and stuff like that. But I'm also like Brian, where I would rather have the smaller cards. I prefer the 8 and 16 gig cards in my camera for the very same reasons that you said. However, I do want a camera that does have the large files because if I can blow it up and get in there, that would be exciting. But I agree with you, Brian.
Yeah.
Great points. I didn't do my main gift, and I'm usually thinking about my kids this time of year. It's not really about me. And so this whole all I want for Christmas thing was kind of difficult, but I wanted to think outside of the box. And then go into thinking about the little guys, the little camera stores and stuff. And I realized that, what I want for Christmas is I want to take my camera in and have it cleaned, the sensor and everything, and have it all just cleaned really good.
Very good.
And the little camera shops. So the camera shop I've been going to for years is the Northwest Repair. I gave you the link, didn't I?
You did, yeah.
Do you have that there? Can you
let
tell
me
them
pull
the
that
address?
up.
They're in Everett, Washington, because I'm here in Washington, and I now live out by the ocean, so that's close to 4 or 5 hours away from me now. But I trust them, and they've always done good by me. They look like this little hole in the wall, but they've always done an amazing job, and their prices are really worth it. And a lot of people, they think just keep shooting your camera, but if you're like me and you're around the water, in the seawater, you've got your salt in your water, and then you have your sand and everything, your cameras take a beating, and if you don't clean it and uptake it, it's like a car. It's just not going to last as long. So for me, all I want for Christmas is to get my baby washed.
I can't imagine with the shoots that you do, Cindy, that you're just not burning through lenses.
I baby them pretty good, and then I also always make sure I have a filter on the end of my lenses, some type of filter, because I don't want to wreck my glass. But yeah, I like to take it in and keep it clean, and I like supporting our local shop. I don't know what I'd do without them.
NorthwestCameraRepair.com. Yeah, they're I've heard of them, and they're good company to work with.
They are, and they will also, you can mail it in to them, and they'll mail it back to you. I'm one of those people, though. I don't want to mail my thing anywhere. That's my baby. I'll carry it in. I'll have a car seat for it and everything.
I don't know. Ed, do you want to mail your thing somewhere?
Well, you've heard of that song, Detachable.
And here we will break for a nice musical.
Excellent.
Oh, I forgot to say in my stocking, I want a hunk of beef. Oh,
just a hunk of beef, huh?
What reminded you of that?
Yeah, exactly.
Not really, that didn't, but now that you put it that way, I guess, sure.
I already got myself, since we're kind of moving on, I already got myself a small Christmas present. I got myself some Gurkha cigars.
Oh!
And I'm a big fan of Gurkha, and they're really good. So I got myself a few of those, much to my wife's chagrin.
Do they taste like pickles?
No.
No.
Not at all. Not Vlasic. No, that's for sure.
Do you guys have a second for one more?
Sure.
Yeah. Hit us.
I have been oogling the Polaroids, the old-fashioned Polaroids, and now they come in all types of colors, not just the creamy one with the rainbow. They come in different colors. And Fuji makes one. And it looks really, really nice. Reasonable prices, but...
And why?
There's something about having the tangible picture right after you click it, and it comes out, and you're able to put it in a photo album. Back to my memoirs, memories, stuff like that. Something to play with, something different, and then.
You mean like the Fuji Instamax Mini 8, this little tiny little instant camera?
Yeah, there's that one, and then there's Polaroid too.
Polaroid has one, yeah.
I mean, devil's advocate. I always challenge people because that's become a very popular thing with the young kids again. Yeah. And I would say, so you want to buy a Polaroid to be able to take a picture, have it eject out, develop in front of your face, so that you can set it down and take a picture with your phone so you can put it on Instagram.
Nope, not at all. No, again, with me, a lot of what I do is with the kids in mind. So, you know, when I think of that, I'm thinking of the kids and how much fun they would have with something like
So
that.
they can take the picture of the picture and put it on Instagram.
Yes, if we want. No, but you know, going back to basics, as a kid, I always had a film camera in my hand. I always had a 35 millimeter. I had those cheap ones, the Kodak
Disc
cheap
cameras?
ones.
The
Just a
disc?
little.
Oh,
No, just a
Instamatic.
little Instamatic.
126,
Yeah,
126.
point and
Yeah.
shoot and
Yeah.
stuff, and those are fun, but then you have to wait for the film to be developed and come back to you. And then, you know, and there were always these little different things you can get that were fun, and I just thought that would be fun to have at home. Just a Polaroid.
I find it interesting that both of your, you know, what's on your wish list this year is very tangible, you know, non-digital elements. I mean, the Instagram projector and also the Polaroid camera thing. Those are both things that you're going to be able to see and touch and hold, and it's got a physical quality to it.
Well,
And it
don't
kind of
you
extends
find
outside of the digital world.
if you hold it, I mean, I don't think a lot of times kids can appreciate their iPhones and stuff and everything to the degree we did when we were able to develop our film. You know, you bring that home like, oh my gosh, look at this picture I took. Oh my gosh, now how did I do that? And it's a whole process in your mind, and oh my goodness, look at the rays that are coming across that. How did I do that? And I think it sparks an interest that I don't think would be there if it's not in front of them, for them to just look at and really feel and be able to put in their house, be able to open up in their own books. And my kids have their own bookcases, so they can have albums in their own bookcases with pictures that they've done and they could be proud of, you know. So.
Well, I totally buy into that at the point of we don't have photo albums anymore. We don't have that tangible. But I mean, if I just said to my son yesterday, he's sitting on the couch and he's holding the phone up to his face and he's, you know, giving one of these looks, and I said, how many times do you take pictures of yourself a day? He said, well, it's Snapchat. So apparently,
that's the answer.
Yeah, it's these pictures for Snapchat. You shoot it, and they only last online for something like 30 seconds, maybe a minute, and then they're gone. So they're all day long, you know, giving a little pose and shooting their pictures of themselves.
Do that again, Brian. I want to see that.
You would do very well at that.
I watch my son do it all the time. But it is a shame. I know Mark Coleman at Paul's Photo, again, a small retail camera type store, and it keeps talking about this lost, we don't make prints anymore. And if you think, oh, it's just all on my Facebook, that may not be there next year. It may not be there 5 years from now, but the photo albums will be there. And you know, maybe it's investing more. They're making a lot of little desktop, little small cubes that make 4x6 prints. You know, you just plug your camera in, click, and it prints out the stuff that you've shot.
You know, Facebook was it last year? No, the year before. I went, and there's the My Social book, and I was able to get all of my Facebook from when I first started Facebook till the present, all in these books. They're hardcover books, and they're my journals. Everything that's happened, and that's pretty cool. You can kind of edit out the commercials and stuff like that. But I love the tangible. I love having something that I know that my kids and their kids can look back on it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Cindy, did they print that for you?
Mm-hmm. I paid them, and they.
Sure, that's very cool.
It's very cool. It's My Social book, and I recommend it highly. You can get it soft cover. You can get it hard cover. It's really awesome. I have everything all the way up to, I have to do 2014 and 2015, but I have everything. Even when my mom was mean, and when my sister was happy, and when when I had a headache. But you know what? It's kind of a documentation of what my life was. You know, I don't write in journals a lot, but I'm on Facebook a lot. So I was able to print it out. So mysocialbook.com, I believe, is what it is.
Interesting.
Yeah, I never heard of that. And, are you the
And
only
I
one?
was only going to give 2. So
I think we've kind of migrated into the what else can we stick under the tree?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I could do my rant gift,
I
Yeah.
would love to hear it.
I'll
Yeah.
which
have
is
to hear that.
it's a stocking stuffer that I just got for myself, and it's a simple USB extension cable because with my new iMac and my CD burner that I had to buy with it, since Apple has done away with those for good reason, it only comes with a 10-inch cord, and all the USBs are to outputs are to one side, so you can't put it on the left if you're left-handed or whatever. I happen to like to raise my Wacom tablet up to a certain degree.
Yeah, yeah.
And it completely blocks me from using it. So I think that's just a stupid design that they sell this thing with 10 inches of a cord to it, and that's my rant.
And I'm sticking to it.
Very good.
Wonderful.
Well, it's been great. We've had a lot of great. There's a lot of wonderful toys and good stuff that we all want. I like the fact that some of them are fairly inexpensive, not a lot of money. A few of us have a very expensive taste, and put some pretty big gifts out there. But I hope this also gives our audience some ideas of things that they may, some of the new things we talked about, whether it's the Instagram projector and or things like the Pulse and things that maybe they didn't really realize were out there. So with that being said, everybody, I want to, Micah, Ed, Jesus, and who am I forgetting? Cindy. Don't want to forget Cindy. I'm looking at the pictures down below.
The only girl.
The only girl. I want
woman.
I want to wish you and your families, a wonderful holidays and Christmas and health and happiness and all that wonderful stuff. And, kind of this will lead into maybe we should be doing a New Year's show. What is our resolutions for New Year's?
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic.
Interesting. It could be projects we have in mind, could be photo related and stuff. But I'd also like to thank our audience for listening, tuning in, and subscribing to our show. I mean, that's the reason we do this. It's the reason that Cindy created the pixeLobby, is to share information, to help train and teach and educate people about different facets of photography and graphics and digital imaging and all these kind of things. And I hope all of you have a very happy, healthy Christmas and holidays as well. And with that being said, as I always end the podcast, take a photo. It'll last longer. There you go, guys.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Great.